Zoe Rose says a romantic relationship early in her life turned abusive.
And so I had no context to what was normal. And unfortunately, it got to a point where it was every single thing that I did was controlled by this other person.
And she says that went all the way to her digital life.
I had a desktop that I was logged into my accounts. He had access to that desktop as well, so he can very easily go onto it.
Today, that sort of spying is now an industry. Critics call it Stalkerware, a category of apps that secretly monitor another person's phone.
Yeah, I think we started looking...
Marcin Klaczynski's cybersecurity company is part of an industry coalition fighting the rise of these apps.
How much of an increase have you seen during the pandemic?
So the increase we saw during the pandemic in terms of actual spyware being used and stalkerware being used for that purpose was about 1,600%. So 16 times over, we saw an increase in terms of the numbers of victims out there.
And that is just in the time that we were all stuck at home.
That was just in the few months that we were stuck at home.
I found an app in seconds online. I installed it, and then I brought my phone to Eva Galprin, who fights these apps as cybersecurity director at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. The maker of the app did not respond to requests for an interview.
Shouldn't the phone in some way be telling me that there's a problem and someone's following me around?
Well, that's what Stalkerware is. What makes it Stalkerware is that it is designed to fool the user into thinking that they're not being spied on.
If an abuser can break into a victim's phone or force the victim to hand it over, they can install this sort of app and gain access to all kinds of information. Galprin walked me through everything this hidden app could tell her about me.
Where have I been recently? Can you tell me?
You have been to United States, Oakland.
Oh, geez. I don't even want you to say on air that's my street address. That's crazy. Okay.
Yes.
What else? What are other categories of things?
What I have here are the photos on your phone. And
These are all photos, by the way, that I would not want out in the world, so that's amazing. Okay.
It went on and on.
So not only do you have my location, my text messaging, my contacts, but you have every word to the letter that I have typed into any program.
yes.
This morning I was looking at the URLs of various organizations that might help an abuse survivor get away, and you're saying this would pick that up.
Yes, it would.
Which obviously shows just how dangerous it is to operate on a phone like this when you're seeking to get away from an abuser.
Absolutely.
Some apps say they're for monitoring one's children. But because intercepting digital communications is a federal offense, so-called stalkerware could be a criminal industry operating in plain sight, Galprin says.
They sell it under different names, they sell it under different brands, they put different skins on it, but essentially under the hood, it's the same half dozen products. One of the things that law enforcement can do, that attorneys general can do, is actually enforce the laws that are on the books.
Today, Zoe Rose works in cybersecurity and says the industry, which has made spying on one another as easy as downloading any app, hides behind a natural impulse.
Stalkerware is also advertised as a logical thing. People think, well, we want to make sure that our family is safe. We want to make sure our children are safe. We've just made it convenient to make an excuse and justify this tracking.
Now, the question is whether this sort of tracking in any form is justifiable.
Jake Ward is with us now. Jake, it is fascinating reporting. I think it's scary, right, for a lot of people to see. And I'm just so struck, not just by your exchange. I mean, your street address she was able to identify through this, right? But the idea that some of this seems like it could be criminal. Why isn't it more aggressively prosecuted? Some of this seems like it could be a slam dunk.
Well, it absolutely is criminal. Under federal and state laws, intercepting electronic communications is criminal. And until now, unfortunately, this category of apps had been hiding behind the idea that it was for family monitoring, child monitoring. But the good news here, Hallie, is that we are starting to see action. In fact, the Federal Trade Commission just last month announced that it was finalizing an order acting against what it actually calls a stalkerware provider, a company called Support King, which did business as something called spyphone.com, and its CEO, ordering them to shut down, ordering them to delete data. It could be that we're starting to see action being taken against this category.
I have a hard time letting you go without doing, and I don't want to be like so news you can use, but like, how do you know if there's stalkerware on your phone? How do you protect yourself? Can you walk us through that? Because that feels like such a question right now.
Well, the tough part of it right here is that actually abusive spouses actually, will take a phone or demand a phone from somebody. And so in that case, it's very hard to defend oneself. But it's checking to make sure that you're using two-factor authentication wherever you go. It is keeping good track of your phone. And there are settings you can go into. If you Google up how to resist stalkerware, there are, in fact, settings you can change. But here's an important thing. If you are in an abusive relationship, Hallie, you should not do those things. You should try to get a new phone because you don't want to set off your abuser. That is a really important part of this. So it's a very sensitive thing. And what we can really hope is that further federal action will get taken against this terrible category of app.
It is such important reporting, Jake. It is really critical, and we should note there are a lot of resources available, including the domestic violence support hotline that folks should turn to if they are in danger. Jake, thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.